Good afternoon. Thanks for watching. This is now on this Tuesday. We are tracking several breaking stories right here from the H&N Digital Center.
That's right. Let's take you live now to Capitol Hill. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol scheduled a surprise hearing today. Natalie Brand has more details from D.C.
In a last-minute surprise hearing before the January 6th committee, the aide to former President Trump's White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows said Mr. Meadows hinted about potential problems before the January 6th rally.
There's a lot going on, Cass, but I don't know. Things might get real bad on January 6th.
Cassidy Hutchinson said Mr. Trump's former personal attorney Rudy Giuliani boasted about plans in the days before the 6th.
Something to the effect of, we're going to the Capitol. It's going to be great. The president's going to be there. He's going to look powerful.
And she said she heard Giuliani mentioning right-wing groups before the rally.
I recall hearing the word Oath Keeper and hearing the word Proud Boys closer to the planning of the January 6th rally when Mr. Giuliani would be around.
Hutchinson also said former President Trump was furious that Secret Service metal detectors kept some of his supporters outside of the official rally on January 6th.
I overheard the president say something to the effect of, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here.
Hutchinson also testified the former president's White House counsel expressed serious legal concerns about Mr. Trump potentially going to the Capitol that day.
And do you remember which crimes Mr. Cipollone was concerned with?
In the days leading up to the 6th, we had conversations about potentially obstructing justice or defrauding the electoral count.
Hutchinson also says she was told the former president tried to grab the steering wheel of his vehicle and lunged at his Secret Service agent when told they were going back to the White House. At the end of the hearing, Hutchinson said both Giuliani and Meadows sought presidential pardons. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And we've got more breaking news just into the H&N Digital Center. Nobel Peace Prize recipient and Rappler CEO Maria Ressa says the Philippines government has ordered her digital news organization to close. She received a shutdown order last night while on Oahu for an international media conference that she's speaking at today. You can see her there in this video our Annalisa Burgos just sent to us. She's tracking this story and will have even more reaction and developments coming up on later editions of H&N. Hawaii's gun laws could be changing following that Supreme Court ruling on that case out of New York regarding open carry laws. Casey Lund is exploring the possibilities.
Good afternoon from HPD headquarters, where we saw a lot more people lining up for carry permits here in the state of Hawaii. It's extremely difficult, almost impossible to get one. You have to prove that you have an exceptional case and that you're worried about possible bodily harm. It's a really difficult thing to achieve here in the state of Hawaii. But with this recent Supreme Court ruling, many are hopeful that that could change. Gun enthusiasts are hopeful the High Court's decision will ease firearm restrictions here. Under current Hawaii law, gun owners have to keep firearms in their home, but they can transport them to firing ranges if they're unloaded and locked up. They can also carry if they're actively hunting. After the Supreme Court decision, those rules could be overturned. We talked to local gun owners about how they feel.
I think that's a good thing. I wouldn't blame guns for the things that are happening. If we didn't have guns, it'd be something else. There's no such thing as gun violence. Guns are inanimate objects that don't have a mind of their own. Someone has to operate them. Right now, there is no carry law where you can actually carry a gun unless you're actively hunting or at a shooting range.
Honolulu police say for now there are no immediate changes to the way they permit firearms, but lawyers for gun owners say that could change sometime this week. The Supreme Court is expected to rule on a separate lawsuit by a Big Island resident, George Young Jr., that seeks to overturn Hawaii's restrictions on concealed weapons, removing that exceptional case rule from the statute.
In the course of a few months or so, the laws are going to have to change so that there's no longer that exceptional case requirement. However, Hawaii is still going to be able to have training requirements. The mentally ill, people addicted to drugs, and criminals will still not be able to own or carry firearms. So people shouldn't be too discouraged by the fact that now law-abiding people can exercise their right to carry a handgun.
Even if George Young Jr. and Alan Beck, his attorney, are successful, they might not be out of the woods just yet. If that rule is stricken down, state lawmakers say they're already working on legislation that would shore up Hawaii's gun laws, including rules that would make anyone applying for an open or concealed carry permit to go through the same firearms training that HPD officers go through. We also know that in 2020, according to the AP, Hawaii had the lowest rate of gun deaths. Many opponents say that could change if the rules change. Reporting downtown, I'm Casey Lunn. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Now, Hawaii News Now's White House correspondent John Decker is in Madrid covering the NATO summit where President Biden is right now. John, what can you tell us about the main goals of the summit?
This is a two-day summit that gets underway tomorrow, Ashley. One focus of this summit is NATO expansion. In fact, we got some news on that front a little bit earlier today, just a few hours ago, and that news is that Finland and Sweden will be the newest members of the 30-member military alliance. Reason being is because Turkey, President Erdogan of Turkey, has announced that he's dropping his objections to those two countries joining the NATO military alliance. So that's one bit of news happening here. The other bit of news besides that is focused on Ukraine. What can the NATO alliance do more to help out Ukraine in its fight against Russia? We're going to get an announcement as it relates to military equipment that will be provided to the Ukraine military, including a very superior system for air defenses that Ukraine will be given by NATO, specifically by the U.S. This is a military defense system that can shoot down from a significant distance fighter jets from Russia. So that's what we expect to hear over the course of the next 2 days. And in addition to that, and the focus as well in terms of expanding NATO in terms of its scope on the continent of Europe. It's going to increase in size by 7-fold in terms of the amount of military on the continent, from 40,000 to 400,000. That's a huge number that should make Russia think twice. At least that's the hope from the NATO military alliance.
Right. On the news about Finland and Sweden, have we seen any response from Russia?
Nothing yet. This is so new. A memorandum of understanding was signed by Turkey, by Sweden, by Finland. No announcement yet coming from Russia. But even when Sweden and Finland announced that they had applied for membership in NATO, initially we heard from President Putin that there would be consequences for this, but then he seemed to pull away, backing down. You may know this already. Your viewers may know this already. Finland shares an 800-mile border with Russia, so this is maybe too close for comfort as far as President Putin and Russia is concerned.
Now, will the leaders be talking about Ukraine as well when, in terms of these rising energy prices we're seeing?
Oh, absolutely. That was a big focus at the summit that preceded the NATO summit. That was the G7 summit. Those rising energy prices not just felt here in the United States, but also throughout Europe. All of our NATO allies also seeing those rising energy prices. That's the reason why I think you see this increasing military equipment being sent to Ukraine. The idea here is to level the playing field, get Russia to the negotiating table, and ultimately have a ceasefire. That's the goal. In fact, we heard from President Zelensky in the past 24 hours. He says he believes that an end to fighting as it relates to this military action by Russia will happen this year in 2022. That certainly is the hope expressed by President Zelensky.
All right, Hawaii News Now's White House correspondent John Decker joining us from Madrid. Thank you, John.
Governor Ige says he will veto a bail reform measure which would let judges release certain nonviolent defendants until their trial. The bill passed with broad support, but then all 4 county mayors and police departments and even the bill's sponsors turned against it because it lacks certain safeguards. As lawmakers go back to the drawing board on this issue, today we talked about what could be considered next in regards to bail reform with SHOPO's president.
Well, you know, that bill that was vetoed, we really don't want to see it in that form. And of course, the things that we want to see possibly changed in there is what the governor had addressed previously, where if the person that's not able to make bail and secure the appearance to show up to court, to solve that, we could go to like an ankle monitoring program where you put an ankle monitor on the person, and if they don't show up for their court hearing, then the judge can issue a warrant, and then you can send law enforcement to go and pick up that person to secure their appearance. But as far as you know, the bill in its current form, it's really going to take robust discussion amongst the stakeholders, prosecutors, the 4 county chiefs, legislators, and the community at large in order to come to some kind of agreement.
New details as authorities continue to investigate the deaths of dozens of migrants found inside a big rig in southern Texas. Dan Shinneman has that story.
One of the deadliest human smuggling cases in recent memory. The death toll now 50.
The patients that we saw were hot to the touch. They were suffering from heat stroke, heat exhaustion.
They were found in the back of this truck by a local worker who heard cries for help. The truck parked in the searing summer heat. No water found inside.
We did apprehend 3 individuals, persons of interest. The investigation will tell whether or not they are truly connected with this crime.
This is not the first such incident. 5 years ago, also in San Antonio, 10 migrants discovered in a tractor trailer died. But the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, blaming these latest fatalities on the White House, tweeting, "These deaths are on Biden. They are the result of his deadly open border policies." U.S. Customs and Border Protection reports a rising number of problems in the Southwest, with a record number of encounters this year.
The truth is we have seen these incidents before, and likely we'll continue to see them again as Congress remains gridlocked on the issue of immigration.
A chronic problem without an immediate solution. Dan Shenneman, NBC News.
A man who disrupted a Hawaiian Airlines flight from Los Angeles to Honolulu in October of 2020 was sentenced to at least 3 more months in federal prison. Alexander Price has already served about 8 months behind bars for trying to open the plane's exit doors during the flight. He also assaulted a flight attendant and had to be restrained with zip ties to a chair. The flight landed safely in Honolulu. Today on Sunrise, Howard Dykes interviewed 2 top Southwest Airlines officials about their plans to expand inter-island routes. Here's some of that interview.
Summer gets busy, of course, for flights to Hawaii, but we're also seeing a permanent expansion of a key service provider. Bob Jordan is CEO of Southwest Airlines. Andrew Watterson is the carrier's chief commercial officer. What have you got to tell us about changes to local service?
You know, I think the biggest thing is, and again, this is my first time in Hawaii, and it's been 24 hours so far, but it's wonderful. I love the alignment with our Southwest culture. The people are just beautiful. But I think the biggest thing is we spent a lot of time listening, and it was clear that we needed to boost our inter-island service to provide more day trips, and we've done that. We're going to take our service from 38 daily inter-island to 60 here, I think, in September. We've also moderated our mainland a little bit just to take some pressure off of the tourism. So I think those are the biggest changes coming.
And Andrew, the way this works, you're using the same aircraft for inter-island flights that you use for the Trans-Pacific.
Yes, we use the MAX aircraft, which is very versatile, very fuel efficient and quieter, and so they rotate between Trans-Pacific and inter-island just fine.
Is the increase in service this summer, the increase in demand for service, is it meeting what you expected, or is it's hard to predict right now as we get out of COVID?
You know, and that's a story of that's a detailed story, but the leisure demand in particular is well above 2019 at this point. So leisure is very, very strong, and it's broad-based. The business demand still lags. We're down roughly 20 to 30%, I would call it. The business will come back. I still think we have a shot at our business travel being on par with 2019 by the end of this year. But the leisure demand is very, very strong. We're likely to have a quarter here on the revenue side where our operating revenues in the second quarter are a record for Southwest Airlines, and not just a pandemic record, but an all-time Southwest Airlines record if our trends come through.
Now, your flights from the West Coast come from a variety of different areas.
They do.
Is there any city that has recovered maybe a little faster than you thought it would?
I'm going to talk. Well, I'll defer that one to Andrew.
With Vegas, in the Great Recession of 2008, Vegas was a little bit sluggish, as sometimes conferences and meetings were vilified back then.
Yeah.
Today, Vegas is the first to come back for both business and leisure. So we've been super happy with our Vegas operation, nationwide, but in particular from Hawaii.
What about your hiring here? I know you've had a lot of openings that you've been filling. Do you still have openings?
We do. In fact, we hire roughly. We had roughly 400 here when we started. It became obvious that with just the way the operation works, we needed more. So we have recently boosted that. We'll go from just under 400 to about, I think, 530. And we're hiring. We still have about 70 or 80 to hire. But no, we're hiring all across the company. We're hiring about 1,500 a month, if you can believe that. We've hired 11,000 people so far here in 2022, but it's all on.
Yeah, it's such a tricky time. Everything an economist predicts is based on what happened during the last recession or the last boom.
Yeah.
But we've been going through something that really has no precedent at all. It must make it really hard as you do your demand expectations.
Yeah, it's true. It's something that we actually learned to live with during COVID and the max grounding. So we're used to variability now. So even though we don't know what comes next, we're used to not knowing what comes next.
We're a little worried that they're almost too used to it. They are network planning folks where they used to do maybe 12 schedules a year. I think they've done 40 and 50 and 60. So we don't want to live like that forever. But no, the demand. I think, knock on wood, the COVID impacts the demand, where you get a surge and then it would drop back, and you get a surge like Omicron and it drops back. I think we're past that. Again, it's very clear that you've got a lot of revenge travel going on. People were ready to travel, and they're coming back in droves. But no, I feel like it's going to be much more steady over time here.
Okay, that's good to hear, because remember, these guys have internal information on advanced bookings, so they know more than I do about what's going to happen in the next couple, 3-4 months.
Except we can't tell you anything that's going on.
But we harvest their optimism.
Howard Dykes in his element there.
Oh, yeah.
With the CEOs, right? So we have more coming up on airlines and airfares. That's coming up at 4:30. I have a story for you about how to avoid travel nightmares this holiday weekend. There's some very specific things to do other than just being nice to your gate agents, right? Because that can get you so far if you're in trouble, have delays or cancellations, you have to work with people. That's one of the tips.
Okay.
Other things, I'll tell you real fast. One other tip, sneak peek, is to maybe consider booking the first flight of the day, because odds are that crew was sleeping over, and so they're not going to cancel that flight. All right, taking you live outside. I will save the rest for later at 4:30 again, but taking you live outside to a destination you may be considering going to. That's Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
And guess what? It is 81 degrees there. Yep, a little warm there for Philadelphia. Let's see how our temperatures and weather are shaping up. Here is Guy Hockey.
We could use more rain statewide. We're just not going to get much over the next several days. Not that it's going to be totally dry, because we will see occasional passing showers for windward sides, mainly in the morning, mainly in the overnight hours as well, but lots of daytime sunshine for leeward sides. So it's going to be bright, it's going to be sunny throughout the weekend, although over the weekend, there's a slight chance that we could see a slight increase in those windward and mucus showers from a passing disturbance. Again, that's over the
Well, the popularity of going off the grid while traveling increased during the pandemic, but has intensified. Wendy Gillette reports on the trend from the Amazon in Brazil.
These are the sounds of the Amazon. A few hours after leaving the city of Manaus in northwest Brazil on a rainforest cruise, we're aboard Amazon Nature Tours Motor Yacht Tucano for a reduced rate. There's no cell phone service or Wi-Fi for most of the trip, which takes up to 16 passengers out for as long as a week.
Very first reaction is shock and concern, soon followed by deep relief. And people really enjoy having the opportunity to disconnect.
A recent survey by the luxury network Virtuoso found 92% of travel advisors say their clients are bringing health, wellness, and self-care into their trips this year. And 29% prioritize digital detoxing, even more than diet programs or beauty treatments.
They begin to appreciate more external things instead of simply, the internal echo that we all suffer with.
The Amazon trip takes unplugged travelers on guided excursions deep into the rainforest. Whoa! There's fishing for piranhas.
Can I touch it?
Yeah. Which become the night's main course. Amazon! There's also the opportunity to take a dip in the Rio Negro River, the largest blackwater river in the world. You don't have to trek somewhere as exotic as the Amazon to take a break from technology.
You can make any trip a digital detox, whether it's close to home or far away. All you have to do is turn off your electronic devices and make the commitment to separate from the world.
And whether you're choosing the digital detox or it's imposed by the remote location, the idea is to return renewed with a clearer perspective. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, the Amazon, Brazil.
Lucky Wendy Gillette.
Seriously, she goes all over the place.
Let's see what else the internet is talking about. And this is one of those days when you open up your feeds and something just keeps popping up. This is one of those things.
Okay.
I've seen it so many times, but I had to play it out. That's because Disney Plus and Disney has dropped the trailer for a highly anticipated movie. We're talking about Hocus Pocus 2.
The Sanderson sisters. I bet you're looking for the stage.
Always. Well, I'm excited.
I can't wait.
Yeah. The original 1993 movie saw the three witch sisters woken up after 300 years of sleep in Salem, Massachusetts after the lighting of the Black Flame Candle. Well, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy return as the Sanderson sisters, brought back once again, this time by two young girls who light that candle again. Hocus Pocus 2 starts streaming on Disney Plus on September 30th, just in time for the Halloween season, and sparking some costume ideas for us.
Oh, such a great trio costume idea.
Yeah. What'd you find, Ash?
So there were rumors that Johnny Depp might be coming back as Jack Sparrow. Well, that's not true, his representative says. So not only that, Jerry Bruckheimer, who produced the Pirates of the Caribbean film, says they haven't made a decision on whether the actor will reprise the role. And of course, all eyes have been on him recently since he and his ex-wife have had battling it out in court with those dueling defamation suits, which wrapped up earlier this month.
Well, what do you say we get to some good news now?
Oh yeah, the Maui Film Festival back next month for its 22nd year, and this year's honorees include actress Christina Ricci. Remember her? She was Wednesday Addams, and she's grown into adult roles, including her current Showtime series Yellow Jackets. Now the festival will also recognize actress Lana Condor. She's the star of that Netflix franchise To All the Boys I've Loved Before. The festival begins July 6th at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center.
Excited for that, and I love Christina. Also starred with Johnny Depp, speaking of him, in Sleepy Hollow.
That's right.
Yep. All right, little movie trivia. That's going to do it for This Is Now. Ash is back first at 4 on KHNL.